The following podcast is a Dear Media production.
Today's podcast guest, Daniela Legarda, met me at the Dear Media offices in LA during my recent trip there, and we got to record this interview together in person. Knowing her backstory, I did know going into this conversation that there was going to be some heavy moments here. If you don't know anything about her story yet, you are in for a wild ride in this conversation. But what I didn't know was just how connected I was going to feel to her during and after this interview. The two of us had previously only met one time, and it was a virtual meeting. We were both panelists at an event together. And something about this interview and talking about the deep topics that we cover here just made the two of us click. And I feel like by the end, we were so in the flow together and just so comfortable with one another. I hope that you guys have a lot of major takeaways from this episode today. As you're listening, if any moments hit you hard or feel very powerful to you, please take a screenshot of it and post it to your Instagram story, tagging both me and The Real Stuff and, of course, Daniela. She has just proven to be one of the most resilient people that I've ever met in my life, and she truly has one of the brightest and most positive attitudes of anyone I've ever come across. I'm going to leave it at that, a short and sweet intro, so that we can dive right in with Daniela Legarda. Daniela, welcome to The Real Stuff podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for coming. We're in this beautiful studio. Just to backtrack for how we first met, we were on a panel together talking about how female creators monetize their businesses. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to talk about building a business, especially with you, we have to go way back to when you were living in Colombia, where you were born.
Yes.
So can you take us back to your childhood? What was young Daniela like, and how do you feel that translated into what you do today?
I grew up in, very short grew up in Barranquilla, Colombia, which a lot of people may not know that area, but when I say that's where Shakira's from, then they're like, oh, I know that. Yeah, so I moved to the U.S. when I was 5 years old. My dad was like head of police force back then, and it was just really dangerous at the time, especially him being like the head of it. So he just made the decision of moving to the U.S., giving us a better life, a safer life. So we actually came to the U.S. on political asylum. So I wasn't able to go back to Colombia till I was 14 years old. So for me, going back to Colombia at 14 was a huge culture shock because all I ever knew was like the US, like I came at such a young age, but being able to go back, and when I went there for the first time, I barely spoke any Spanish because you know how it is, like when you move to the US and you're surrounded by Americans and that's all people are speaking to you. Like, yes, my parents would speak Spanish to me at home, but in most of my time I was speaking English to my siblings, to everyone at school, my friends. So I literally forgot how to speak Spanish, and then I come to Colombia, can't even talk to my grandma or anybody, and I'm like, what is going on? And that's when I decided to like tell my parents, like, okay, do not respond to me if I don't talk in Spanish. Like, I want to get in touch with my Latin heritage and all of that. And then I don't know if I'm like kind of getting out of your question, but I after that one time of going when I was 14 years old, I just like fell in love with my culture, and I got to know my grandparents and my family, my aunts and uncles that I never got to like see except at a very young age. And I just made it a point to like really make that part of my, what's it called, like my
identity.
Yes, exactly. Because I felt like it was definitely like hidden in a back pocket I had put it aside for so long, especially growing up in the US, growing up in a predominantly white neighborhood where I was the only Latina. So it was something that at first I was like, why is my name Daniela and not Danielle? Like, why can't I find my name on any keychains, Mom? Like, why am I named like this? Why is my skin color different? Why is this? Why is that? Why do you guys have an accent when you talk? Like, so many things that bothered me as a little girl growing up now is something I embrace in everything I do.
¿Quieres hablar español hoy?
Claro que sí. Wow.
Hablo un poco español.
Hey, you're actually speaking really well.
Gracias, muchas gracias. Pero, un momento. Estudié español en la escuela y puedo hablar un poco. Pero cuando una persona está hablando muy rápido, es un problema para mí.
I get it.
Yes.
But you said that literally perfect.
Thank you so much.
You didn't even mess up at all. That was really great.
Well, we can speak Spanish today if you want, but I don't know if our audience will understand.
I'm like, don't let me find out your husband's actually Latino.
Nope. His family's from South Africa.
Oh, okay. Well, you spoke it really well. Honestly, you should like practice it because I feel like you could be completely fluent.
Actually, our son's nanny is from Colombia.
Really?
So I speak Spanish with her a lot. She's very fluent in English, but sometimes if I'm saying something that I just really want to make sure she understands, I try to explain it to her in Spanish. And I guess the way I would describe my Spanish is that I don't know the words for everything, but I feel like I can say anything in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But also it's like, I get what you mean when you're like, if someone's speaking it to me, it's so much harder to understand because one, you're speaking fast, and two, they're speaking with their accent. Like even I'll go to different parts of Latin America that aren't Colombia, and I don't understand what they're saying because they have different slang, they have different accents, they talk. Even my boyfriend, he's Panamanian, and there's so much stuff that I'm constantly asking him, like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Because it's like completely different culture. So it's like depending on what part of the world you're from, everybody speaks it so differently.
I feel like Spanish is such a beautiful language, and I think I need to read it as I'm hearing it in order to translate it in my head. Something that we have, changing the topic here, something we have in common from our upbringings is picking up a camera at a very young age and just filming things. I think you're a little bit younger than I am, so when you were picking up and recording, you were popping it on YouTube, correct?
Yeah.
I was just making commercials on like a VHS tape that I would play for my family in
that.
a performance at night. It wasn't going on the internet, but I would love to hear about your early days picking up the camera and what you sort of thought you were going to do with that.
So the first camera I ever recorded on was like the old school webcams, the ones that, because back then the computers didn't have like a built-in camera, and we would talk to my family in Colombia through a webcam. So it was like the little balls that you would like just put on top of your computer. Anyways, I started stealing that from my parents, and I started recording YouTube videos. There was like a long time ago, there was Comedy Central, it was Bon Kui Kui.
Yes.
Like all these different funny videos that we would watch in school. And basically I would just like learn it word by word and then grab the camera and like film myself with, by the way, I did not know how to edit. So I would just put one long non-edited video and then I would be like, all right, get in, all right, get out. Like I would be like yelling at the person that's in my video with me to like telling them what to do. So I would do like the comedy skits and stuff like that. Like I would just copy the ones that were already viral. And since they were so viral and people were looking them up, my video would be next after them. And it wasn't me at all trying to go viral. It was literally just like me being a kid just filming myself because I thought it was hilarious and I love these videos and I would just learn them so easily. And then I went to high school. This was me in middle school. And then I went to high school and like I just forgot about that. Like I put that aside and I just was being a normal like teenage girl. And then when I got to college, it wasn't until my senior year where I started seeing like the influence of social media. And then my sister's an actress, so she was like doing stuff with acting. And then my brother was doing stuff with music. And then he was also working with influencers. Like since he was signed to Sony Music at the time, they would be like, oh, go to this influencer house. Like you're going to film with content creators all day, things like that. And he's the one who told me like, hey, there's like these things called influencer houses, creator houses, blah, blah, blah. These influencers are like making money, this and this. And you have such a natural talent in front of the camera. Like you should get back into that. And I was like, okay. So I got on YouTube and I started doing one vlog a week, but I was still in college. I was a senior in college and I was doing one vlog a week. And then I started with Instagram towards the end of like my senior year. And that was because my sister had booked something in LA. So she like went to LA to live for 3 months and she slid in a influencer's DMs, and his name is Tonio Skits. He's like a brother to me now. I love him. He's like an OG Vine influencer, and she like slid in his DMs and she was like, if you ever need a real actress like in one of your videos, like I would love to, like it doesn't matter if I'm just in the background. And he like responded right away, and then she literally started filming with everybody. Like she met Lily Pons, Hannah Stocking, like everybody. Her social media started growing. So when she invites me to LA for a weekend, I'm still in college, so I fly to LA and I do my first ever Instagram skit. And after that I just like kept going with Instagram, kept going with YouTube, and yeah.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
What a good lesson from your sister's standpoint of just shoot your shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Slip into the DM. Like you never know what it's going to lead to.
Exactly.
And the worst they could do is never respond to you.
Yeah, and that happens, and that's totally okay.
Speaking of your brother, Fabio.
Yes.
Was his first name.
Yes.
tragically, he passed away. 2019?
Yes.
I know he was such a huge part of your life and your upbringing and your career and continues to be a huge part of everything about your life. Do you mind telling us a little bit about him?
Yes. So my brother was the oldest. We were a family of 3. It was me. It was my brother, the oldest, my sister in the middle, and then there's me. And he's basically the one that paved the creative way in our family. Like, being the oldest, he loved doing music since he was young. He always loved being in front of the camera as well, just like very charismatic. Just like he was always a star. Like from a young age, he was a star. We always knew he was going to be a star. So he like paved this creative way in our family. My parents always supported him as well. And I feel like he really taught our family and my parents that there's like this whole industry, you know, the whole entertainment industry and how it's a business and how there's so much opportunity in it. Because my parents being immigrant parents, they saw it as like, you know, you got to be a lawyer, you got to be a doctor, you got to do this and this. But then when they saw my brother and like his passion for it, they completely like shifted their mindset. So my brother is the reason why my sister and I are even like who we are today, why we follow our dreams, because he was always such a strong believer of like, you better follow your dreams. It doesn't matter what you want to do, but you got to be the best at it and you got to put your heart in it. So yeah, he started music at a very young age, got signed to Sony Music Columbia. So he moved back to Columbia when he was maybe like 22 years old or something like that. But yeah, he moved back to Columbia and he just started pursuing his career. He ended up getting on a show called MasterChef Celebrity, and that really took off his career because it made people fall in love with his personality. Being on reality TV, people get to really like see who you are outside of just an artist or just like a pretty face or this or that or whatever.
Was he a good chef?
He didn't even know how to like make an egg before the show, but he ended up becoming a pretty good cook.
That's great. And I'm sure people just loved getting to know him.
Exactly. I mean, he didn't win, but he did get pretty far.
Okay,
so
great.
That was nice. When I graduated college, I was like really scared. Like, what am I going to do with my career? This and that. I remember I was like working at a restaurant and my dad calls me and he's like, okay, you're about to graduate. I was like 2 weeks out from graduation. And my dad's like, you have 2 options. Like, you can either quit your job and get a job in like your field, like quit your serving job, or you can quit your job and go all in with social media. And me and your mom will support you financially until you get on your feet. And we feel like that's like what you should do because you just have like a natural talent. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll definitely take that option. And I'm going to, you know, quit my job and go hard on social media. So I quit my job. And I had like 8,000 followers on Instagram and I had like 6,000 on YouTube, 6,000 subscribers. This was May of 2018. And then August of 2018, so maybe like 3 months later, I reached 100,000 on both platforms. And that was because I started daily vlogging. So I was posting every single day on YouTube. And then I was posting every single day on Instagram, whether it was skits, photos, tutorials, like whatever it was, pranks, I did it all. So my following grew really quickly. And in August of that year, I visited my brother in Medellin, Colombia, where he was living for the first time, because I'm not from Medellin. I had never even been there. My brother invited me for my birthday. So I went and I was only there for a weekend. And in that weekend, my brother was like, yo, Danny, like you're a star. You need to move to Colombia. Your life is going to change here. I'm going to put you on with a management team. Like I'm going to get you to collaborate with influencers. Like your life will like change here. And I was like, oh my God, are you sure? And he's like, I know you're really scared. Like you just graduated and that is scary, but like you got this. And I was like, okay. So he convinced my parents and my parents like let me like try it out for a couple months living in Colombia. And then it was just going really great. Like I was collaborating. Everything was going amazing. And in that time I was able to even get closer to my brother because me and my brother have a 6-year like he's 6 years older than me. So I felt like that was the perfect time for me to like build like a really great bond between me and my brother. Since he was older than me, he did move to Colombia while I was still in school. So it was just like a really beautiful time where I learned so much from him. He put me in the right rooms, taught me so much. And then it was now it's February and my mom is like, okay, I'm going to invest in a property here so you can live in it. And I was just starting to make some money on social media, but not really, not enough to like support myself. And she was like, I'm going to buy this condo, and then in a couple months, like, you can start paying rent once you like start making more money. And I remember my brother was like, I know that it seems like a lot of money that you guys are like paying for her, but I promise you in 3 months, like, she's going to be completely financially independent and she's going to be able to pay the rent, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, don't like be making promises for me like that. Like, 3 months is crazy. Like, I had never, I was still really young. I had never made like enough money like that before. And he's like, you got this. A little bit of like backtracking, when it was New Year's Eve that year, so maybe like a month and a half before that, we were making our like plans and our goals for the year. Me and my brother were, and he was like, "What do you want to? How many followers do you want to get to this year?" At the time, I had about like 150,000, and I remember I was like 300,000, and he was like, "Are you kidding me?" He was like, you're really going to make goals that you're going to reach. He's like, that's so easy, Daniela. Like, you need to make goals that scare you, and that you're not even sure if you'll reach, or else that's not a goal. Like, and he's like, that's just a checklist. And then I'm like, okay, fine. And he's like, I say you're going to get to 1 million followers in 3 months. Like, he said that. And I was like, what do you mean 3 months? He's like, yep, 3 months. He's like, let's bet on it. I don't even remember what we bet, but we bet something. And I was like, okay, whatever. February of 2019, me and my mom we finally find a beautiful condo that she's going to buy and I'm going to live in. She buys it, signs the contract. We celebrate that night with my brother. Next morning, my brother is like bringing out a new music video, and the song's name is Nutella. And I would always, like, being a YouTuber, do a reaction video to his new music video, and then I would post it like a couple hours once the song was out, and it would go viral, and it would help the song go viral. So I was recording his reaction video, and I called my brother, and I was like, yo, I just recorded the best reaction video. Like, you're going to love it. This shit's going to go so viral, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, dude, I can't wait. Like, we're going to celebrate tonight. My song is out, blah, blah, blah. I hang up, and he's telling me on the phone, he's like, I'm just so happy. I feel so happy right now. Like, my career, everything, your career, like, you just got your place. Like, everything is amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm so happy too. He's like, we're celebrating tonight. Hang up the phone. Literally 10 minutes later, I get a call that he was shot. Like, it was insane. He was in an Uber on the way to the gym to go work out. And he's sitting in the passenger seat, because in Colombia, like, when you're in an Uber, someone always has to sit in the front seat because taxi drivers will like get upset or whatever at Ubers. And there was a Brinks truck, obviously filled with cash, and then it's like the truck, a motorcycle, and then my brother's Uber. And the motorcycle pulls a gun out on the truck, and the security goes to like shoot back to protect, and the bullet just like hits my brother. Like, it was just a complete freak accident.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was just like, we were just celebrating. Like, we were going to celebrate that night. Like, my whole life changed, like, I was supposed to move to Colombia, like, had the house, like, everything. And it was the most traumatic thing of my life. My mom just like happened to be there with me in Colombia at the moment because she was buying the house. And it kind of worked out perfect that my mom was with me, so I wasn't alone. Because, like I said, in the city, like, I have no family in that city. My brother was my only family. So my mom was already with me. And then my dad was in the U.S. in Atlanta with my sister. So they hopped on a plane to go straight to Colombia. But yeah, my whole life turned upside down. Everything that I thought I had planned for my life, that I thought was going to like go on, everything I wanted to celebrate, all these accomplishments just like vanished, like, I never moved to Colombia. Like, we canceled that. I went back home. I was traumatized. Like, I didn't want to get in an Uber. Like, I was so scared anytime I would receive a phone call. Like, I was traumatized with Colombia. Like, I hated it for a long time. Like, I didn't want to go back. Like, I had like so much hatred for the country. So it was just like, it really taught me that it's like, everything, we have to appreciate everything we have, because we don't know when it can be gone, like, we have to truly live every single day like it's our last.
Wow. First of all, thank you so much for sharing that whole story with us. That is beyond anything. I mean, I don't even have the words to respond, because you can't even say to someone, I'm sorry that happened. I mean, I don't even know where to go from there. I heard you in an interview talk about how your family had to have a therapist move in with the family.
Yeah. So we hired like 2 therapists to like come and live with us in Atlanta. We were doing like 3 sessions a day. We were doing like family therapy, individual therapy, a bunch of all these therapists were like, they worked with like energy healing. So it was a bunch of like even regression therapy. I think that's what it's called. Like going back in time, reliving the moment. Like it was the craziest, hardest time in my life. It was 1 month of just like them living with us and like doing all of this energy healing and all of this stuff, trauma healing. I went from never having done therapy a day in my life to like extreme therapy and reliving the moment and reliving things in my childhood. And as crazy as it sounds, this whole like losing my brother has brought my family, like we've always been a close family, but it has literally torn like all the walls down, and it brought all of my family closer. One thing, like my dad, we're obviously all Latino, but Latino men in like general, sometimes they're raised to like not say I love you, like not be affectionate, like be the man of the household. And like my dad, like he would never really say I love you, like before my brother passed, to me at least. And after he passed away, like my dad tells me he loves me all the time now. And it's not because he didn't before. It's just like it didn't really like come natural to him. Like I would say like, love you, dad, and then he would just like hang up the phone. And like I knew my dad loved me, like he always showed me, but it was hard for him to like express it and like say the words. And now my dad like constantly tells me how much he loves me. Like my dad like cries in front of me, like not in like a I'm sad way, but like he'll do cries of happiness. Like my dad is like a completely different person now. My whole family is like, it really brought our family so close together, and it completely just like it changed so many of the goals that I had in my life, and that my family had, and it's brought a lot of light from the darkness.
That's really special about your dad, and obviously it's amazing to look for silver linings of how your family has been positively impacted. And for you, at that pivotal moment in your career, you're just about to buy the spot, you're just about to move there. Obviously, when something tragic like that happens, work goes to the complete background, and you move home, and I'm sure you're not focused at all on any goal in regards to social media. But do you remember anything from that time in terms of if and how you still showed up online? From looking at your content, it's clear that you have always been pretty open and vocal and almost had to grieve the situation publicly. Did you retreat at all, or did you just lay it all out there as it was happening in real time?
So remember how we said that my brother had said that I would like reach 1 million followers in 3 months?
You did.
Yes,
Yeah.
I ended up reaching 1 million followers that same month. So it was like insane. Obviously, my following grew crazy. This was like worldwide news. Everyone knew what was going on. I had zero privacy at all. So I did like for a couple weeks fall back and try to be like present. But to be honest, I felt so much pressure because my social media was so large. It was growing so much. People wanted answers. People wanted to see what was going on in my life. And I was so new to this world. Like I just didn't know anything about it. Like now I have a huge boundary with social media. But back then, like I really didn't know how to. And I felt like if I don't film and do my work, like I'm disappointing my brother, like in a way. So I honestly didn't really stop. I just like kept trying to go, but I remember I would like film and then just like break down, and I would just be so sad. And maybe like a month after my brother passed, I got my first big brand deal, and it was like the biggest I had ever seen, and I believe it was $10,000. And I remember like seeing like being offered this deal, and I'm like, what? Like, one, I've never seen this type of money in my life. And I was like, and two, I felt like this like guilt where I'm like, did I have to lose my brother in order to like make money? Do I even deserve to be here? Or is it just because my brother passed away? And then there's like two different parts of social media. Like half of it is like so supportive. Like people are like giving us so much love and like loving the content that we're doing and want to like and are grieving with us. And then there's a whole nother part where they're like, you're using this for clout. You just care about fame and money, blah, blah, blah. And like just so much hate. And like you really start believing it where you're like, am I a terrible person? Like, am I using my brother's name? Am I this and that? And even though you know your intentions aren't that at all, like you start believing it, especially when you're so vulnerable and you're grieving. It's like, it makes you feel so bad.
I was going to say, not that the whole concept of using him to get ahead in your career, using his death to make money, not that that would have come to mind for me, but I'm curious from your standpoint, because, this big music presence passes away and people are flooding to his social media, and there you are, you're immortalized forever as like one of the top last 3 posts he ever posted on social media, and people are coming over to you. I was going to ask you if you ever felt almost like, in kind of a nice, loving way, if it's almost like he somewhat sacrificed himself to help your business. I know that's kind of a crazy way to say it.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm like so glad that you're saying this right now, because I talk about this where I'm like, I feel like my brother, so I'm very spiritual. My brother was extremely spiritual, and he was very godly, like very religious. So my brother, I feel like his soul knew he was going to leave. Like, he didn't know. But the last things he said to me on the phone, and he said to my sister, and he literally called every single one of us. He called my mom, my dad, my sister, and me. And it was like his soul said goodbye. And the last thing he said to me was, I'm so fucking happy right now. He was like, everything is going great. I'm so happy. And it's just like, he was just talking and raving about how happy he was. So the only thing I can think of is like his soul knew it was going home. Like he knew he was going home.
I have full body.
Yeah. And
chills.
he said goodbye to us. And I truly believe that he set up my success. He set up my sister's success. It was like him telling me to come to Colombia. We spent those months together from August to February in Colombia. He literally got me my management team. He put me on with other influencers. He taught me everything I know, put me in the right rooms. It was like, he was like, all right, you're ready now. You're good to go. You don't need me anymore. I've done what I needed to do here, and now I'm leaving. And someone once told me that when you lose someone close to you, they go from being a main character in your family to now being the director. And I truly believe this. I feel like my brother is the director of my life, and everything I want, everything I dream of, anything I envision, he just brings to life. And he's like, oh, you want this? Cool, but we're going to make it twice as big. And I feel like so many beautiful things have happened in my career since. So many beautiful things have happened in my sister's career and my parents' lives as well. Like, and I truly believe that he set everything up and his soul left because his time on this earth was done. And I believe that there's people that come into our lives that are angels, that come into this world and are angels. And once they complete their mission, they go home.
Wow. It's so special. I mean, just the way you talk about it. Thank you so much for being so open. And it feels like, as hard as it is to lose a person, to have a call from someone 10 minutes before they're tragically killed, telling you how happy they are. There's no words to describe it. It's really incredible. Have you ever spoken to a medium?
Actually, yes, at Jessica Alba's house.
What?
Okay, that sounds crazy, but Jessica like hosts these annual events at her house for Latinos in the entertainment. And she invited me, and she invited a medium, and she told everyone like, oh, I brought my medium here, blah, blah, blah. She's incredible. She even works with like the FBI. So I've always been like, look, I won't go
She's
to
telling the FBI it was this person.
Yes, I guess. Or like, I think she helps
That's
like
crazy.
find missing children.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. She's the real deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've always been like, I'm not going to go to a medium, but if for some reason it comes to me, like it was meant for me. So I walk into the room of the medium. They give me 10 minutes. And this whole time I'm thinking like, I want to connect with my brother. So she tells me, is there anyone in specific that you want to talk to? And I was like, yes. I have a family member that passed away, but I didn't tell her who. And then she was like, they're here. And I was like, oh, really? And I'm like, so excited. I'm like, yes. Long story short, she like starts telling me this stuff where she's like, this person died at a really old age, and you were holding their hand. And I was like, what the heck? Like, my brother died really young. Like, I was like, no. She was like, this person like used to make really funny jokes with you. You guys always joked around and like laughed so much. And I was like, yeah, I guess me and my brother like joked around, but like that wasn't like our thing either. And then she said, this person like always held hands with you. So whenever you're feeling down or scared or whatever, like just know this person's holding your hand. And I was like, my brother never held my hand. Like, let's be real. Like, he was my older brother. Like, he was not holding my hand. So in my head, I'm like, wow, this like lady is like full of shit. Like, what the heck? And I'm like, whatever. And then at the end, I was like, to be honest, like I didn't resonate with any of that. Like, I was talking about like my brother and like who he had passed away. And then she was like, wait a second. He just walked in. And she was like, right away, she was like, I feel something in my head. He died tragically, something with the head, some head trauma. And my brother was shot in the head. So then I was like, yeah, like he was shot. tragically in the head. She was like, that's him. And then she was like, okay. And they're knocking on our door because our 10 minutes are up, and they're like, okay, you're done. And she's like, wait. She's like, he's saying that, she's like, you're doing something over his life, whether it's a book, it's a movie, a show, something. And I was like, yeah, I'm executive producing a movie over his life. And then she was like, yep. She was like, he's making a joke and he wants to know who is going to be his actor, that you better not get like any average dude. And I was like, that's my brother. Like right there, like I knew. And that was all I needed. And I was so happy. And I walked out of the room, and she had told me all the other stuff I told you. It may not make sense right now, but it might make sense later. And she had also mentioned a date. She said the 17th. And she was like, was that his birthday? And I said, no, my brother's birthday was actually the 18th. When I leave the room, I'm like, wait a second. And I go to my sister and I'm like, when was my grandma's birthday? And she was like, the 17th. Why?
It was your grandma.
It was my grandma. My grandma had passed away the month before. But I was so focused on my brother that I didn't even think about my grandma. And my grandma was my second mom. I loved my grandma, but my grandma died already at a young age. And at an old age, I prepared myself. I said goodbye to her and I held her hand. Oh. So that's what she was telling me.
And you guys always laughed together.
We always like made jokes together. We always laughed. Like that's what we always did. And she always held my hand. Like even like at this age, like I was always holding my grandma's hand. So it all made sense. And I was like, oh my gosh, and my grandma's birthday is the 17th. And the medium had specifically said, this person wants you to celebrate on the 17th, not be sad, and celebrate their birthday. And I was like, my brother's birthday was not the 17th. But yeah, that was my experience with the medium. It was so beautiful.
Now, considering yourself a spiritual person, how do you connect with him these days? Do you talk to him? Does he come to you in your dreams at night?
Yeah, absolutely. So when he first passed, he would come to me a lot more in my dreams and things like that, because I feel like I was grieving so much heavier. I needed him. I asked him for more signs. But I've always been the one in my family that has like, I connect with him in my dreams. And like, there'll be times where he comes to my dream and he says something so specific where, for example, he'll be like, tell your sister that XYZ. And then I'll be like, Mari, I dreamed this and Fab told me that I need to tell you this. And she just starts bawling. She's like, last night I was crying, like stayed up all night thinking about him. And I just asked him to like, just show me a sign. And so, something I didn't know, and it's like, for me, it's the dreams. Like it's always the dreams with my brother. I have his guitar at my house. Like, it sounds crazy, but like I've heard it like play before. And I mean, not like a full song or anything, but just like a little like
a chord.
Yeah, a little chord when nobody's around. Like it's hung up on my wall. Like nobody's like around. So many things, like so many endless things. Or like people that like can feel energies and things. They're like, have you had someone pass? Like I can feel like a presence, like a very protective, like beautiful presence. Like it's the light. And I'm like, yeah, and like just a random person. I don't know, but so many things. I connect with my brother in so many ways. And I've also learned that all of the beautiful things I see in the world, whether it's colors or a flower, like I'm just like, that's him. Like he's in everything. He's in everything that's beautiful in my life. He's just always by my side.
Speaking of this success that he has helped guide you towards, and that you can, go to him, you have this guardian angel who can help you achieve these goals, and your business has obviously taken off, and you are incredibly talented. You are a voice for Latina creators everywhere and Latina women. I want to talk a little bit about doing business online as a Latina woman and creating content for the Latinx community, but also a lot of your content is translated into English and Spanish. How does it feel in the content creator world as a Latina? Do you feel that the doors are open, you're getting more opportunities because you're reaching this new demographic, or do you feel moved past sometimes where people aren't wanting to capture a Latinx demographic?
I feel both. Thankfully, a lot of brands and companies do want that diversity, and they are like trying to touch the Latin roots and all of that. And I really appreciate that. I work with so many brands that love that about me and love that about my content. But there are a lot, and still needs to be worked on so much, where they're like, they'll say stuff like, well, Latinos don't buy, so we want the American audience. And I'm like, what? Like, why do you think Latinos don't buy? Like, so it is both, but I have shifted my content a lot to like more English, just because that does help with brands here in the US. But I get a lot of brands that are like, we want you to do video in Spanish, we want you to talk in Spanish, we want you to connect to your audience like that. So I definitely think that that there's so much power in Latinos, and I do think that brands are really appreciating that.
How many Instagram followers do you have now?
I have 3.2 million on Instagram. I have like 1.7 on YouTube, and then I have like 2.4 million on TikTok.
And when you open your demographics on most of these platforms, what is the most followed demographic?
I'm definitely number 1 Colombia.
Okay.
And then 2 US. I have a lot of Latinos here in the US. Like,
right.
A lot.
One thing that you've done, I believe, with your sister is you created Hermanas at the Table. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about
accents.
that? How was it?
It was great.
Thank you. What if most people are Hermanas at the table?
Yeah, no, they'll say like Hermanas.
Hermanas. Well, you do capitalize the H-E-R.
Well, to make it like
about, like,
her.
She.
Yeah,
yes.
like
female.
We started Hermanas at the Table here in LA because it all started because we were at, it was Hispanic Heritage Month, and the events we were going to that were to celebrate Latinos, they were influencer-based events. So it would be like a TikTok event or Meta or whatever, but in order to be invited to it, you had to have a social media following. You have to be a content creator. So that was cool and all, but we were missing that community of like, it's not just about like social media following. Like we want to meet like all sorts of Latinos. I got invited to one event that was from the writer of Jane the Virgin. He had just written a book. He had just come out with a book that was about being an illegal immigrant in the U.S. and how he didn't even know he was illegal till he went to apply to college. His parents never told him because they didn't want it to like shift his mindset. But anyways, when I got invited to this event, I was with all sorts of Latinos, and it was amazing. It had nothing to do with social media following. It was actually like the Latinos in Hollywood, the Latinos behind the scenes, the producers, the writers. Then I remember like my sister and I went, and we were both so inspired that we started crying, and we were like, this is the most beautiful like event I've been to. Like, we're meeting all these like powerhouse Latinos that are inspiring us, that I want to be like. I want to learn from you. I want to, like, I love how you're paving the way for us and for all Latinos. So my sister goes home that day. Well, we both go home that day. And my sister, she lives with her fiance. And this is like what she told me, that she was like laying in bed and she was like, damn, today was the best day ever. Like, I feel so inspired. And she was like, I wish that there was more of these events. Like, I wish that they just existed. My sister's fiance, he's Black, and he goes to like Black men excellence events and things like that. And she was like, just like how you go to yours. And then he was like, well, create it. And she was like, what? And he's like, yeah, like, why don't you and Danny start it? Like, why don't y'all start it together? She literally calls me. It's like midnight. She's like, Daniela? I'm like, what? Like, what's up? And she's like, we need to create this, blah, blah, blah. Literally the next month we had our first event. And after that, we've just been working, and we're like, there needs to be a space for us. Like, we deserve the space, and we don't care about your social media following. We care about you being like a trailblazer. Like, how are you paving the way for other Latinas? How can we put all of our forces together? So we like create these spaces where we're like, everyone shares, everyone's vulnerable, everyone's open, and then everyone always leaves the room motivated and with a new contact. And it's like, oh, okay, you have your own, let's say, podcast, and I want to start a podcast. So let me pick your brain. Let me do this. Let me do that. Or how can you help me? How can I help you? Things like that. So it's been beautiful. It's been amazing. We've been able to bring the community together here in LA, and also show women that it's not a competition. Nobody's taking your spot. There's room for everybody. You know, what's meant for you is meant for you. And we're just actually here to like uplift and help each other.
I think when I first met you and we were on that panel together, you were going to an event.
Yeah.
That night for Hermanas at the Table.
Exactly. And it was actually when we did with Patron tequila.
Yes, it was sponsored.
Yes. And Patron is actually a brand I work with a lot. And I was saying, like, they're all about the culture. They're all about adversity and all of that. So yes, there are some brands that don't really, but then there's amazing brands that I work with that do. And those are the kind that I like to work with and that I work with.
You sort of alluded to how when you got that $10,000 deal, you had never seen that kind of money before. But then at the same time, you were talking a little bit about your upbringing and sort of suggesting that your parents told you they would be able to support you if you didn't make any money from social, and your mom was about to buy you a property. So what type of wealth bracket did you grow up in?
Well, she wasn't going to buy me a property. She was going to buy herself one.
I see. And you were going to pay rent.
Yeah, I was going to pay rent soon. But so when my parents moved to the U.S., they had 3 kids. my mom was very young because my mom had my brother at 18, my sister at 20, and me at 22. So by the time she was 22, she already had 3 kids. My mom's dad was actually a millionaire. He started these like he started Lascano candles. My mom's last name is Lascano, and he was like the biggest manufacturer of candles back then. This is what my mom told me, that in Colombia the light would go out all the time, so my grandpa made like the big candles, and that was like what everybody used. So anyways, my grandpa was actually a millionaire back in the day, but when my mom wanted to marry my dad, my grandpa slapped her across the face and he said, "You better not marry that man. He's broke." But no, but he's like, "If you leave him right now, then I will pay for you to go to the best university in the US, and I will give you these buildings." Like my grandpa had a lot of property. He's like, "I'll give you this property and I'll give you a lot of money." My mom said, "No, I love him. Like, I don't want any of your stuff." So my grandpa kicked her out and didn't talk to her for a couple years. And my mom did it all on her own, but then my grandpa obviously came back around when he saw the grandkids and all of that. But my grandpa ended up getting really sick and passing away, and he got all of his money stolen from his wife at the time, which is not my grandma, but like, what is that called? Like the evil step.
Yeah,
The
evil step grandma.
stepmom. Yeah, whatever. She stole everything. So my mom left with, my mom and my dad took the little bit they had, which I believe it was like $8,000, and they moved to the US. They got, I think my mom said she got like 15,000. She used some like for the visas, for the plane tickets, everything. But by the time they got to the US with us, they had about $8,000 to last them up until they got a job and on their feet. My mom was cleaning she was cleaning hotels at the Holiday Inn, and my dad was working construction, very underpaid. But within a year of them living in the US, a bunch of things where they got fucked over and a lot of whatever. They also didn't speak English, so people took advantage of them, all sorts of things. But a year later, my dad decides to start his own restoration business. And then a year after starting it, so maybe 3 years into the US, like my dad makes his first million. My parents do. And then they moved us out of the hood and we went to like a nice suburb, and I grew up middle class. So I definitely was fortunate. I didn't grow up with like money to have like luxury things, but I definitely never like needed anything.
And now with your multi-million follower audience, have you ever shared what type of price range you're able to charge for content?
No, I never really talk about that on social media. Like I don't, but I do make I'm definitely well off. Ever since 2019, I've never had to ask my parents for money. And just know that if you think about starting your videos, get them out of the draft box, because I definitely make well into 6 figures. I even get 6-figure deals. So there is a lot of money in social media, and I've never had to ask my parents for a dime ever since. Just like my brother said, after 3 months, like I never had to ask my parents for anything.
Would you have an answer if I were to ask you, why does it make you uncomfortable to talk about money in that way?
I don't know. I just feel like it's like bragging or something, which I know it's not. And I know there are content creators that talk so openly. Like there's this girl I follow on social media, and she'll be like, I got paid $10,000 here, and I got paid $12,000 here, and I got paid this and that. But I don't know. I don't know if it's also because like I have family that follows me that still lives in Colombia, and like they are obviously in a completely different bracket than me and all of that. But I don't know. I don't know why it does. I just feel like it's kind of like, I don't know. Like, do you talk about it?
I have spoken openly about it. There's an episode of the show where I break down every salary I've ever made in the media industry, from my first job at an ad agency to Refinery 29 to what I do today. And I only started doing it because I was starting a show where I knew I was going to be asking other people about it, and I felt like it was so hypocritical as the host to never open up myself.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think it's almost like a time and a place, and a time when it makes sense. And there are a lot of accounts on social media where their whole thing is, here's all my streams of income for the month as a creator, and here's a breakdown of how I made this money this month. And I think there's so much value in people doing that if that's kind of their platform. But for other people who are more lifestyle creators or you know, their mission and message is just unrelated to the monetary value.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people tell me on the show, is that it's actually not adding anything. Like they do they create content to add value to their followers' lives in some way, and the money taboo topic part of it is just not relevant.
That's true. And I do get what you're saying, because like the girl I follow that does talk about it, like that's her whole brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's like marketing and like how much money you can make and this and that. But like I don't talk, like I don't even like sharing like if I buy an expensive purse.
Right.
Like you'll see it in a video, but like there's even girls that do like, oh, I just spent, I don't know, $3,000 on this purse. Like I don't even talk about that, just because I don't know. I just don't like it. Like you'll see it on me, but I don't have to be like, oh, I just spent this much money on this.
So coming from Colombia and coming from this story with your parents where they came here with 8,000 and built everything up that they have today, do you feel like you being a creator who's struck gold in some sort of way and had success, and now you have a different number in your bank account than they ever had at that point, do you feel like that's adjusted your mindset about money and that you now spend it more freely, or do you still have the survival instinct about it and feel bad spending?
I don't feel bad spending. I don't have a survival instinct. I'm not saying I love spending, but like I know that money is an energy as well. And I also know I work so hard for my money. I am like so blessed to like go on a trip if I want to. I can buy myself this bag. Like I don't depend on anybody for money. I don't depend on my parents or my partner or anybody. No shame on like people that do, but I've just like worked so hard. So I'm like, if I want to buy myself something, like I will. And when I first started making money, I remember my parents were like, you want to buy a Louis Vuitton bag? Like, oh my God. And now my mom has her own Louis Vuitton bags. Like it'll be her birthday and I'll buy her a bag, or I'll take her to Hawaii. Actually, it's become a yearly thing where we have to take my mom to Hawaii. That's like her request for her birthday. And my mom's like, no, you guys are so responsible. Like me and my sister, you guys are so responsible. Like, you know what you're doing with your money. My sister just bought a Crumble franchise. Like
I saw that on your social.
Yeah, like she is such a boss, and like she's a content creator. She bought a Crumble franchise from being a content creator, from the money she made. But one thing that my sister and I always say, we're not just content creators, we're business women. And I want to be making money when I sleep. You know, like I want to have my money in different places where like I can just like make content because I want to make content, but not because I'm stressed about it, like paying my bills. My sister is definitely like someone I look up to so much. Like when she bought that Crumble last year, now I'm like, okay, now what am I going to invest my money in? Like
what franchise are you going
for? Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, no, back to, I don't feel like guilty spending, but I am very responsible.
It's so noteworthy. And I mean, I commend you greatly for, I guess I would call it, having the ability to spend your hard-earned money. Because I think a lot of people, there's a saying that one of my favorite podcasters who has a whole money podcast, he talks about how the way you feel about money is highly uncorrelated to the actual amount of money you have. Mm-hmm. And so if you go through your whole life with the scarcity mindset and you come from a poor upbringing and then you start making a whole lot of money, you're probably not just going to feel like, oh, all of a sudden it's easy and it's mine and now I'm going to be a good spender. You're probably going to still have that hoarder mentality and save, money doesn't grow on trees, whatever phrases people throw out. But to see someone who accepts that you are a hard-working, high-earning woman and you're going to make money and you're going to be smart about it and you're going to spend it, congratulations.
Thanks. I really agree with that there are people that have that mentality. And I do think it's something that like your parents bring on you. But I've always been someone that, like how you said you love to watch podcasts. That's why you started your own podcast. Mm-hmm. Like I love that too. Like I love to learn and I always love to better myself. So anytime I catch myself like maybe thinking negatively or something, like I always like shift that mindset. And I remember when I was probably in like high school or I was probably in college. I watched a podcast and it said like, never call yourself broke. Never say you're broke. It doesn't matter if you have $2 in your bank account. Like, do not say you're broke because then you're going to be broke. And I remember telling my friends, and I was just a college student. I worked at a restaurant serving, and my paychecks were very little because I was working part-time, like maybe like I swear like $150 paychecks every 2 weeks. I told my friends, because they were always like, I'm broke, and I'm like, stop saying you're broke. And literally just like a couple years ago, now we're grown, my friend's like, Danny, I never forgot the day that you told me that about like never calling yourself broke. She's like, the second I stopped calling myself broke, I stopped being broke. And I'm like, yeah, because
it's an energy.
Yes, I never talk bad about myself. Like yesterday, my mom, I think she forgot her sunglasses and we were going to hike. She's like, oh, I'm so dumb, I forgot my sunglasses. And I said, Mom, do not say that. And she's like, but that was so dumb of me. And I'm like, do not call yourself dumb. I'm like, don't ever speak negatively about yourself. I never, even if I don't feel happy about my body, I never call myself fat. I never call myself stupid. I never anything. I'm like so big on that. Like I don't talk bad about myself and I do not talk bad about others.
I love that. That's magical, and people need to, whoever's watching this, take note. That is very special and an incredible trait. I don't know how comfortable you are talking about this next topic because I found it on Google and I just want to see.
Oh God.
Do you have an OnlyFans page?
No. Why?
It said on Google that you did.
It shows that I still have one.
Oh, did you have one?
Yes, but not in that way.
I know. So it was a non-sexual page.
No, I'll just tell you. So OnlyFans paid me a campaign of 1 month to post on there, and they said nothing sexual. Like you actually cannot do anything in a sexual way. They were trying to get OnlyFans out of like the whole sexualizing thing.
They were turning it into like a Patreon.
Yeah, they were trying to make it like they were hiring athletes, social media personalities, like everything. And they paid me like for 1 month only of it. And they didn't even let me charge a subscription.
What did they want you to do there?
I don't remember how many times a week I had to post, but like at the time I was doing music. So it was like BTS of music videos, BTS of videos, like just like things like that. Yeah, like my day to day, nothing crazy.
Okay. I had to ask because
I'm like, wait, what?
You know what I do with my guests is I type into ChatGPT, tell me like
I was wondering, I'm like, how do you know
things.
everything about me? I've never come to a podcast or an interview or anything where you literally you're like, you were in the last third post of your brother. I'm like, you really freaking like.
Well, I have to look into everything to know who I'm talking to, first of all. And I like to ask questions that are a little bit deeper that might be considered an invasive, uncomfortable question. But I, as you know, before you even go live, I tell you that that's the ethos of the podcast, and that if you are uncomfortable with anything, part of the show is hearing you say that that's a boundary or you don't want to talk about it. But I sometimes catch myself like asking either my team that works for me, who's helping me create questions, or ChatGPT, you know, what would be the craziest, most invasive question to ask this person? And ChatGPT was like, you might not want to bring it up because she might be offended by it. And I was like, well, I'm going to ask because I could see right here it was not sexual. But by the way, we did have another guest who came on who is on OnlyFans and is a sex worker on OnlyFans. And I think it's great. Make your money.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Yeah. Wait, that's so funny. Actually, before I came here, my friend was like, oh, what are the questions? What are y'all going to talk about? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, she didn't send you over the questions? I'm like, no, I didn't even ask. I was like, I'm literally the easiest person to talk to. Ask me whatever you want. Put a camera in front of me. I don't get nervous. I don't care. I'm like, I literally do. Like, I'm like, I already watched her videos. Like, I am totally okay with her asking me whatever.
Surprisingly, very few people ask me for the questions.
I literally prefer not to like even ask.
You just, we'll do it live. I love this. On the note of sexualizing, you know, just being a beautiful woman on social media, do you ever feel sexualized by your audience? And what is your percentage of men versus women following you?
So my percentage is like 80% women.
Okay.
Most of my following is women, but I don't really feel, I mean, yeah, obviously I get like DMs from like men, like creepy men, whatever. But I honestly, like, I don't feel like, because I have a very clean image on social media, I used to like post more like bikini stuff or like try to look more sexy and things like that because I like feeling good and like looking good and all of that. But my manager was like, we need to clean up your Instagram. He was like, you're giving OnlyFans. Just kidding. Not that bad. But not that OnlyFans is bad. But not that
not that
sexualized part. My manager's like really strict with me. And at first I would get annoyed because I would be like on a beach trip and I would post a bikini photo and he'd be like, delete that right now. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because like, he was like, do you want to work with like these like great brands and this and that, or do you want to work with the whatever brands? And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. Like I want to work with my dream brand of this and this and this. And he's like, well, then you're not going to work with them like doing that. Like they're a very clean image. And even when I started working with MLB as a content creator like 2 years ago, I was like not getting that many brand deals. And my management reached out to them and he's like, why is Daniela like not? And they're like, to be honest, like MLB is very clean and she has like a lot of like sexy like things like, and when I say sexy, it's just like a bikini photo, this and that. And I remember getting annoyed because I'm like, there's like these like skinny girls that post bikini photos on Instagram and they just like don't look sexualized because they're like so much more like petite. But then like me, I'm like curvier and something more simple that won't look sexualized for a girl with like who's skinnier than me, then I posted and it's like, oh, that looks trashy or this and this. But whatever, I took my ego out of it. And I also took the whole like, I'm trying to look sexy, be an Instagram girl out of it, because that's really not what I care about. And I see my Instagram as a portfolio. And I cleaned it up a while back. And I really don't have problems with it anymore.
From talking to you, it just seems like you have such positive mental health. And you're just in such a good space and you radiate good energy and everything from viewing the outside world, like how you feel this collaboration over competition with other creators, to how you said you don't ever say anything negative about yourself and you encourage people around you to do the same. What are your daily or weekly or regular mental health practices or anything that you do that you feel like contributes to this positivity that's just glowing around your aura?
I don't know if this is just like really vague, but I just truly believe in being a good person. Like being a genuinely good person and surrounding yourself with good people. Like you are who your friend group is. You are who you surround yourself with. Talk only highly of yourself. Whenever I'm doubting myself in any sort of way, like I always call my sister and I swear she's like my hype woman, like my motivational coach, like my life coach, my everything. My sister's incredible. So like have an amazing support system around you. I don't know if I mentioned this, but before I lost my brother, I never had any sort of like mental health things. And it wasn't until I went through grief where I experienced depression and all of these like really dark thoughts that I never want to ever feel again, which obviously it's unrealistic. Like life happens, you'll lose more people or you'll lose things in life. But after going through grief and going through losing someone, I just feel like I can get through anything. Like I truly do. Like I feel like nothing can hurt me as much as that did. I mean, yes, there are things like obviously like if I lost someone else really close to me, but I mean, I know how to handle it. You know, like I know how to navigate my emotions and I know how to like deal with stress and deal with anxiety and deal with depression. So I focus on being positive, surrounding myself with great people and being a good person overall.
Are you still in therapy today?
No. I graduated from therapy and I just don't feel like I need it. Listen, my sister, she loves therapy. She's in it all the time. I think she should be in it a lot because she's such an anxious person. I'm just not. Mm-hmm. I'm truly not an anxious person. I don't know how to describe it. And like the last podcast I was in, the one you said you watched of where I was on with my friend Yanina, she was like, you are just the more laid back, cool, fun, like you're never really down. And like, it's true. I'm just never really sad. I'm just like, I just feel so grateful and happy all the time. I can't really describe it, but I don't feel like I need therapy right now. I do like to do energy work though, but like not in a therapy way where I'm like, I want to talk about my feelings or like I'm going through this or that. Like it's like how can I clean my energy? How can I clean my aura? Like, can we do Reiki? Can we do sound baths? Like things like that.
Yes.
I love that.
I would love to go to a sound bath class with you.
I love sound baths. Like whenever you want. Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on. This was such a great conversation. And thank you for opening up about all the dark stuff as well as all the light stuff. You are just glowing.
Thank
you. You've been really such a great guest today.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Real Stuff podcast. If you're liking the show, please head over to Apple or Spotify and leave the show a written review. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a comment down below and join in the conversation. And if you're feeling called to be a guest on the show, visit luciefink.com/apply and tell us your story. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your attention with us, and we will see you next time on the Real Stuff podcast.
Please note that this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products and services. Individuals on the show may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to in this episode.